your busy schedule because you're interested in seeing what your sheriff's office does and how it operates. So I know that that's a big task in this busy, busy world. So I appreciate that so very much. Mark, you're going to have to give me a little instruction. This is what I use?
Right, yes.
Okay.
Right.
And is this just?
That's sufficient for voice.
Okay. All right. I wanted to tell you a little bit about how the Sumner County Jail operates and under whose authority that we operate, and the standards that have been set forth, the rules that we operate under. And in fact, I brought a brand new, hot off the press set of standards. We are under the governing agency as far as the minimum standards for county jails are concerned under the Tennessee Corrections Institute, which is a state organization that has been given the authority under TCA 414140 to set these standards, and it's been years since they have revived the standards. As of Monday, January the 27th, I guess that was last Monday, we have a new set of standards. These are the rules that the jail has to operate under. And there are several categories, and each category has a set of rules. And as long as we meet these standards, we're inspected every year. It's a surprise inspection. We'll have inspectors who will walk in the jail and say, "Good morning, we're here to inspect." And sometimes they stay 12 hours. Now, because we're under new standards, this year they're going to be sending a team of at least 4 because our jail is considered now one of the larger jails in Tennessee. So we'll have that to look forward to sometimes within this calendar year. I don't expect you all to read these, but I thought you might be interested in just seeing some of the rules that the jail has to operate under. Jeff, is it 7:20 my time? Is that right? Okay. The Sumner County Jail operates under these standards, and like I said, it's from the Tennessee Corrections Institute, and these are minimum standards, and I feel like that we operate well above minimum. And the chief has already mentioned, but I have been in that facility since 1995, and we have never became decertified. We have always been a certified facility. Most of the time when they come in and inspect, they certify us from the very first inspection. There's been a couple of times, and I mean a couple, that they have actually said, "Well, you need to work on this, and we're going to come back and do another inspection." But we have always met those standards. Like I said, I've only been re-inspected a couple of times. You all will be coming to the jail next week, and I know you're going to be entering from another end of the building, but this is the entry. This is where our visitors, those 2 double doors there, that's where the visitors come in, the bondsmen come in, the public, they're able to access the inmate visitation area, and that's the contact area for our public. The 6-story tower that the chief was talking about, you'll see that right behind that 1st-story section of the jail. I wanted you all to know what our jail mission is, and I'm proud of this. And when we have every person that works in that jail has gone over this mission statement. And anytime we have new hires that are here, and they train in this building as well, the last day of their training, ranking officers come out, myself, and we go over this mission statement and with these new hires. And I want you all to know what we stand for. The mission of the Sumner County Jail is to provide professional jail services within the prescribed ethical and constitutional limits. Sumner County Jail enforces the law in a fair and impartial manner, recognizing the statutory and judicial limitations and constitutional rights of all persons, and that includes inmates, doesn't it? They're still people. Sumner County Jail recognizes that no facility can operate at its maximum potential without the supportive input from our citizens that we serve. And again, I have to applaud you all because we're so happy that you all are interested in the Sumner County Sheriff's Office. We actively solicit, the Sheriff's Office solicited this program, didn't they, Jeff? And I don't know how that the sheriff and the chief advertise this program, but I know when we started bringing in volunteers into our jail, we advertised it in the newspaper to say, you know, we would like to solicit help from our citizens. We feel like the cooperation of all citizens to reduce and limit the opportunities for crime and to facilitate the maximum use of our resources. Again, just the entry into the Sumner County Jail. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about our citizen resources, our citizens that volunteer. And so we want to help you bring the services that are mandated, a lot of the services that our citizens bring, and they're non-paid employees. They do not get a paycheck. They come because they believe in the services that they're bringing to those inmates that are incarcerated there. But we have approximately 170 citizens that provide services for the Sumner County Jail. And like I said, a lot of these services are standards that are listed in the book that I just gave you to pass around, library services. They actually bring in books, and we have volunteers who go pod to pod and allow inmates to check out books to read. They go back and they pick those books up and disperse other books. They do that on their own. In fact, a lot of those churches and nonprofit groups, they provide those materials for us. I couldn't ask for more than that. We have a group that comes in and provides just, let's say, daycare. You would not believe how many people come in to visit the inmates that have small children with them. They're the children of those people that are incarcerated. And we have volunteers who man that visitation area on a daily basis to try to keep those children occupied and provide, you know, books and crayons, and so that they won't be so devastated. You wouldn't believe how it's very devastating for a child to come in and to look at his parent through a video monitor, and that's how our visitation is conducted, through monitors. The inmate is still up in the tower, and the family members downstairs in that area on the first floor. We have groups that bring all kinds of religious services into the jail and provide religious studies. We have groups that bring in alcohol and narcotic programs. We have a Homeward Bound group that just started on Monday. It's a program that teaches moral recognition therapy, and we have about 60 volunteers that are connected to just that program. And there's a select few that get picked from the inmate population, and they start a class, and that's a 4-month class, and they're in those classes every day for a good portion of the day, and they're learning parenting and family values. They're studying for those that don't have a high school diploma. They're studying for their GED. We now have a program called HiSET that used to be called Adult Education, but it's now administered through Ball State Community College. And just this year, they have a bus that will pull into your Sally Port, and the facilitators to get to do the testing. We no longer have to take those folks out of the jail. They will come to us and test those folks. So that helps me be able to provide inmates who have a more serious crime. They're going to be right there in the jail, so I don't have to put so many restrictions on the inmates that can participate in that program. HiSET sends people in twice. Is it twice a week, Jack, or 3 times a week? And they actually study and prepare these folks to test for their GED. And very, very few people that they say is ready to go has to retest. They pass the test and they leave there with their GED. And I'm proud of that. I'm very proud of that. Our code of ethics, and this is for the correctional officers, that we will keep the jail secure to safeguard the community, the lives of the staff, the inmates, and the visitors, that we will work with each individual firmly, fairly, and without regard to rank, status, or condition. We will maintain a positive demeanor when confronted with stressful situations of scorn, ridicule, danger, and or chaos. And trust me, I have to work on that every day. Report, either in writing or by word of mouth, to the proper authorities those things which should be reported, and to keep silent about matters which remain confidential according to the laws and the rules of the agency and the government. Manage and supervise inmates in an even-handed and courteous manner. That's the biggest job we've got right there. Refrain at all times from becoming involved in the lives of the inmates and their families. You know, we're there to provide the services that we're required to do by law and by the standards for these folks while they are incarcerated. We're to treat all visitors to the jail with politeness and respect, and to do our utmost to ensure that they observe the jail regulations. There's rules everywhere. There's laws and there's rules wherever we go. Take advantage of all education and training opportunities designed to assist us to become a competent officer. Communicate with people in or outside of the jail, whether written, by phone, or by word of mouth, in such a way as not to reflect in a negative manner upon our office. Contribute to the jail environment, which will keep the inmates involved in activities designed to improve his or her attitude and their character. All the things that we try to bring in, you know, drug and alcohol rehabilitation, staying quit, you know, which is a relapse prevention program, the studies, the GED studies. We have exercise classes there. We teach parenting and family values. We teach character development. I think that's a positive, should be a positive influence, and to help these folks be able to go back out and at least give them the tools that they need to make life changes that are positive for themselves and their families. Do our best through work and deed to present an image to the public at large of a jail professional committed to progress for an improved and enlightened criminal justice system. That's our code of ethics. I want to touch briefly on the constitutional amendments that affect jails and what they are, but that little book or that little Bible that we sent around a few moments ago, if we will do and meet the standards that are set forth in those requirements, then we're going to be in good shape. How Amendment 1 affects inmates' free speech, religious freedom, and they still have that freedom inside the jail. Right to assemble in a peaceful manner, and free association with press. Amendment 4, search and seizure. Now, you all can read over the amendment, and I will just touch on how it affects the inmates or the arrested individual through the arrest and also excessive force. So those rights they still maintain even though they are incarcerated. They have a right to counsel, have a right to a speedy trial, and they have a right to a fair and impartial hearing. And I brought our rule book tonight. Lieutenant, would you mind just, I guess what I'll do is, because I just brought a couple of copies, I'll just pass one around on each side. And again, I don't expect you to read that. But this is a handbook that we make sure that every person, every inmate that comes into that jail, the rules are posted, and the rules are on page 7. They start with behavior and discipline. It tells them what we expect out of them. You know, how that if they violate the rules, you know, they can request a hearing. And they have the right to an impartial hearing. So if they appeal any decision that's made by our disciplinary board, it will come to me and I'll review it, or it'll go to our captain. But this tells what the rules are, what's major, what's minor, and what the sanctions are that go along with the violation of a minor rule or major rule. These rules are also posted on a kiosk machine, and we have those machines in every living area where the inmates are housed, out in the day room area, the common area where every inmate can come out of their cell and they can access that kiosk machine. Amendment 8, this is probably a big one as far as the jail is concerned. Cruel and unusual punishment, jail conditions, exercise, discipline, just like what we were just talking about, the rules of the jail and how they have to follow those rules. But also, if we're going to impose discipline, we have to go by the rules that are set forth in due process as well. They have the right to medical care, basic medical care, adequate diet, and protection from violence. So that's the amendment that affects the jails the most is Amendment 8. And then, of course, Amendment 14, and that addresses due process. And just like I said, they have the right to grieve, to file a grievance. We have that made available to them on our kiosk machine, so they can actually go to that machine. They can type in what their grievance is, or what their complaint is, and they can decide on that grievance by a pick list who they want it to go to. The grievances only come to the jail administration. Lieutenants and above can handle grievances. So we gave them a way to file the grievances, and we have to do that. The categories that you see here, and there's one more that they kind of pulled out of the prisoner programs and have it separated now, and that's mail and visitation. But these are the categories that have specific standards under each category. And like I said, as long as we can meet these standards, then it'll keep us out of court. If we go to court, they won't get a judgment. And we will be running a jail that will remain certified. And that's what we want to do. We want to treat people right regardless, like I said, of their status. One of the categories is physical plan, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but living out in the country, and like I've been raised in this community, and people know what I do, and sometimes they think, why do you do that? Give them milk or give them bread and water. Why do you let them do that? Well, number one, they're still human beings. We are required to give them their basic necessities, and because of the standards that you guys are passing around, these are things that says we shall provide in that physical plan, in that building. We have to provide an activity area. We have to provide forced ventilation, natural light. Used to in the old jail, but these standards changed. Now the jail is built, you have to have natural light coming into their cell and into the day room area. So if you build a jail and you don't have those things happening when you build it, or you leave those out of the construction plan, then you won't be certified. There's certain requirements on lighting, how many lights, how much clear floor space per inmate you have to have in these areas. All of the things that you see there, it doesn't say you may have in those standards, it says you shall provide. And that makes the building a safe place for the inmates to live, because they live there. Some live there for 30 days, some for a weekend, some just for a few hours, and some for years, because they're awaiting trial or they're awaiting transfer to the Department of Corrections, and there's no bed availability. So some of those folks that are sentenced have to stay there for long periods of time. These are just some more pictures of our jail, and you all are going to get a bird's eye view next Tuesday night. But Sally Port area, it's required by standards. This is our master control area. Controls all the doors and the locks, electronically. That's a standard. Also says you'll have keys to all those doors. That's a standard. This is our intake area, or holding cell. What you see here in the bottom right corner, that is attorney-client visitation. So an attorney can walk into that visitation area that we pointed out a little earlier, and they can walk right into this room, close the door, and that meets the provision of attorney-client privilege, and the inmates there in their cell. They go into something that's similar, that's in their living unit or in their day room area, that they can walk right there. We don't have to move that inmate and bring them down maybe 6 flights of stairs or down the elevator. But it's a standard. You have to do it. Under administrative management, all of these things we have to do, policies and procedures, and we just updated the jail policy and procedure so that our policies will match up with these standards. We have to have emergency evacuation plans and emergency plans. I think Lieutenant Babbitt's going to touch on that a little bit later on tonight. Fire drills, we do them monthly, and we have to do it with every shift. And every person that's on shift has to participate and sign off that they have participated in those fire evacuation drills. You can read all the way down through, like I said, the logs. We have to do daily logs. Some have to be 15 minutes. Some logs are every hour. Some logs every 30 minutes. And depending on who the watches are on, they might be every 5 minutes, or they may be continual. So it's a huge job, especially anytime. It's a huge job, especially when we are almost at capacity. And now your jail will house up to 832 inmates. That's what we're certified to house. So that's how many folks can be there, and still, that's what this group, Tennessee Corrections Institute, came in and did measurements, and that's the amount of inmates they say that jail will house. Jail budget. Of course, we fall under the sheriff's, in the sheriff's budget, but he has certain lines that are dedicated to the jail. Our salaries, our staff, their salaries are in line to themselves. The food, can you imagine feeding 800 plus inmates, and we feed 3 meals a day? That's a huge undertaking, isn't it? And that comes from the sheriff's budget. Prisoner clothing, I brought a few tonight, and things that you don't think about, but it costs money, and we're required to do it. It's you all's money, it's taxpayers' money, and that's how we look at it. But these are the uniforms that they're issued. I never looked very well in stripes, but you all can pass them around. We lay them here. You all look at them a little later. When they come in, Jack, would you mind? When they walk in the door, and we know that they're going to be staying, which means they're not going to be making bond. We're going to have to put them up in that tower and decide which level we put them on, which cell we put them in. They come in and we issue these basic items, and that's what we're required to do. We're required to issue the basics, and it costs money, because a lot of these, as you can see, are toilet paper, soap, toothpaste, toothbrushes, things that we have to provide over and over and over. Comes out of the sheriff's budget. Custodial supplies. We do their laundry. We're required to do their laundry so many times a week. We're required to do their blankets, so many times a month. There's requirements for every item there, as far as even the laundry. How many times you have to offer laundry to these people. I sure would hate to take on that undertaking by myself. It's hard keeping up with my husband most days, so much less that many people. But we man that laundry room with inmates, and they do an excellent job. We provide them with the tools they need and the chemicals they need, and it is under supervision of an officer, but they do the laundry. They do most of the work in that building under supervision. Personnel, that's a whole nother section that you all see in our standards, and all these requirements fall under personnel. You know, how to recruit. We are a civil service agency, so there's testing. I think the testing took place Saturday before last. I believe that's right, isn't it, Jeff?
It is.
So to fill the slots that we have, and we still have a large turnover in our jail as far as our correctional officers. And the only way we can fill those slots is to recruit people, to test, take the civil service test, and that test will produce a roster, and that's in order from top to bottom on however that person scored, and then they'll start weeding some of them out by background or criminal history. They have to go through an interview. I mean, all of these things just to put somebody on board and start training them to be a correctional officer. And then a lot of times, like I say, we've had a lot. Miss Lisa can tell you probably more than that, because I'm sure you all know she's out here at the training division. But they'll come out here to spend the first 40 hours. We've had some that would quit right in the middle of it at Dr. Lisa. And then a lot of training, a lot of expense. They have to go through medical testing, psychological testing. They have to go through drug screening, and that's not free, any of it. So it takes a lot of training and a lot putting into these folks to try to get them ready to just hit the floor. And then they have annual training. There's all kinds of, some are qualified with firearms or weapons, and we are all qualified with the chemical weapon, the pepper spray. That is the weapon that we use inside the jail. Yes, sir.
I have a question concerning physical screening. You have people coming from all different areas, you know, that may be apprehended in our area or something like that. How do you screen for possible things they could be carrying? I mean,
You're talking about the inmates now?
Yes, inmates, yes.
Well, we are blessed to have and have had since 2006. We have contracted with a group of medical providers. They are nurses and RNs, LPNs. We have mental health nurses on staff. We have doctors and dentists. And if we have an inmate who comes in, we start asking pertinent questions. You know, have you been exposed to this? I wish I'd brought an inmate receiving screening form, but every person an arrestee that's brought in that jail goes through a receiving screening process. And some of the questions, the majority of the questions on there, some will be, are you affiliated with any type of threat group? Who's your doctor? You know, do you have insurance? But most of those questions are pertinent to their health. And if they answer yes to those questions, we have a 24/7 medical providers, and they've been there 24/7 since 2006, and they're right there on site. They address those situations right there, right on the spot. If there's something that they feel is communicable or something that could be a threat to the population, then those folks are segregated and they're put in a medical cell, and they're kept separated from the general population.
Sonia, when a new inmate comes in, are they given?
Yes, sir. In fact, we have the rules and the sanctions posted in all the holding areas in our classification area. They have to go there before they go upstairs. So they're posted on the walls there for them to read. We have some other things in the making that we're hopefully going to implement this year. And then those are downloaded onto those kiosk machines that are located in the living areas. So the rules are posted on the kiosk, and they have access to those anytime they're out in that day room. And they're also posted right at the get-go as they come in the door in the classification areas. So we want to make sure they know the rule, and they have the right to know what's expected of them. And if they don't follow the rules, they have the right to know what could happen to them. And we want them to know. So yes, sir, we have those posted in those areas, and then they're posted on the kiosk. And we did that to save money.
Yeah.
When we put them on the kiosk, because at one time we were printing those and handing every inmate a paper copy and big money, because you'd ask them to be turned back in and receiving, and most of them, they had been vandalized to the point that you wouldn't want to hand them out again, to the next person coming in. So we downloaded them on the kiosk. If there's any upgrades or updates, revisions, then we do that and download them again, the new version on the kiosk machine. And in fact, we're in the process right now of adding a few things to those rules. Security, again, still going through all those categories that are listed under our standards. All of these things under security we are required to do. You're going to see in a moment a picture of our restraint chair. Let me see if it's the next one, because when we get on through this. This is one of our control towers. We are, like we said, a 6-story building, but every pod or every control tower is responsible for 4 pods, and those pods are 2 levels deep. They're 2 floors deep. So this person here, what you see here, is just one of our towers, and we have 3. And those towers set right in the center, so they can see into those windows that you see, the mirrored windows. They can see right down where those inmates are living, and that's 4 separate pods, and our pods house 64. They can house up to 64 inmates in each pod. There you are looking down into a pod. You see the 2 levels, the stairway. You see the phones that are over there on the far wall. Can you all see those phones? One's lower for anyone who's handicapped or has a disability, and then the other phones are a little bit higher up. So they make their phone calls inside those pods. That's the day room, the big open concrete area. The doors that you see, and like I said, you'll see more of it next week, those rooms can house up to 3 inmates. Most of them. There's a few that house 2, but most of them house 3. Here's our restraint chair, and this is just a device that we use to restrain inmates who are showing out of control, destructive, even self-destructive behavior. They're threatening to harm themselves. They are a threat to themselves, or they're a threat to others. And when they go into this chair, if they have to go into the chair, the supervisor is the one who writes a report and comes over and makes sure that they fit the criteria. And then we have a medical team that will come over and check those inmates as well. We check the restraints to make sure there's good circulation, so they're not just put in there and left. We put them on a watch, and it saves them a lot of problem. It saves a lot of the officers. It's a safety issue. It's done strictly for safety. It's not to punish, but strictly just to provide safety for that person, for the building, and for the folks that are either incarcerated there or working there. Inmate rules, y'all got a copy of that. The Sumner County Jail maintains a system of rules and sanctions, and you all are looking at that, which ensures due process while maintaining order in the facility. Through clearly established rules and enforcement, inmates are providing structure and a safe, healthy housing environment. And that's what the rules are for. Isn't that what the laws are for? That's what the rules of the jail is for. We're provided to keep we are required to keep that building clean, to keep the floors clean and dry, to make sure hazardous materials are in a safe place. Daily safety sanitation, those officers are doing that every day, every shift, every hour. If they see something that is that needs repair, it's reported. They do a safety sanitation sheet, and that's turned into our maintenance people that are assigned to the jail. Disposal of waste and trash. Can you imagine the trash that comes out from 800 people? Control of pests and vermin. We have a contract. That building is sprayed. Every inch of that jail is sprayed monthly because we're on contract. But if we see a problem, then we'll call and we'll come right back and spray for whatever the issue is that we might have. But they do a great job of controlling that. Walls are kept clean and daily maintenance repaired. I think this is a great program that this administration, Chief Puccini and Sheriff Weatherford started. The trash that comes out of that jail, the cans, we serve the food that comes in the number 10 cans. You know what I'm talking about, the big commercial cans. And it takes about 40 cans of one thing to serve a meal. So you can imagine if you're serving a few vegetables and a meat. So we recycle those cans now. They're aluminum cans. We recycle cardboard, plastic, and not only does it generate a little money, and I haven't seen those checks in a while, Chief. I don't know if you see those or not.
I do.
It used to run around. Is that about right? About $350 a month,
Or better.
or better.
Some of them, they were recycling since they're doing some work in the jail. They recycle all of that aluminum and the copper. And I think that check was $10,000. This is stuff that
That's right.
previous administrations threw away. And the reason that it's good, it runs generally $350 to $600 or $700 a month that we get back. And we don't get it. It goes to the county general fund. It's your tax money. But prior administrations threw this away. Day in, day out, year in, year out. And if you're like me, every little penny counts. But not only do you save on that, you save on dumpster fees. Because they charge by the number of times they dump. So we save those fees too. And it was just it's a great environmental program, but it's a good way for us to be good stewards of your money. Because it's your money.
And I'm proud of that program. I said it should have been done a long time ago. And I used to have to call, our dumpster people come, I'm sorry, we filled up another dumpster. We never have to do that anymore since we started the recycle program. And that costs money. I'm going to hurry on through the food services. We serve 3 meals a day. And those meals, before we ever put a menu together, we send it to a dietitian, an approved nutritionist, and they have to review that and say, well, you need to add more here, or you need to delete this, or take these out, or add this. So we do what the dietitian tells us to do because we feed a balanced diet. All those requirements, that legwork is done. If we change a menu, it's taken to the dietitian for them to review and say that it's okay to do that. All of these things, with special diets, we have medical, like I said, on site. If there's someone there who needs a special diet because of a medical condition, they order that, and our kitchen makes those adjustments. If there's someone who has a religious diet, has to have a religious diet because of their religious preference, then we make those adjustments as well. And we do that. It's the right thing to do, but it's required. You have to make those accommodations. This is a picture of our kitchen. We'll make sure you get to see that next Tuesday night. And like I said, I'm going to hurry through this. The meals consist on an average of 2,500 calories per day. That's for the day. And the cost is about $2.33 a day. 3 meals, $2.33. I think that's a great job of preparing a nutritional meal. I wish that I could feed my family like that. But we buy in bulk. We bid those services out at the beginning of the year, so it's competitive, and we get the very best bang for our buck. Just another picture of the kitchen. Mail, I'm not going to touch on a lot of these others just for sake of time, but we do have to provide stamps, envelopes, writing paper for those inmates who have $2 or less in their commissary account or who are considered indigent. Visitation, we have to provide or offer 1 hour per week for visitation for every inmate. Just some more pictures of our visitation area down in the right corner. That's one of our officers going through mail. Has to be searched. It's surprising if I told you some of the things that we find in the mail. Programs, these are some of the programs that we're mandated to do, and we offer many programs that are not mandated because we want the folks to leave there better than when they came. I told you a little bit about medical. We've contracted, and we pay those folks to be there 24/7, and I think they do a great job. They're mandated to do physicals if they stay there 14 days. They just disperse all the prescribed medication. They do sick call, wound care, blood pressure checks, blood sugar level checks, the whole 9 yards. We have a commissary, and I wanted to bring this up because 2002, I think, is when the commission passed this and allowed us to do so. And each inmate has something called an inmate trust fund account. Their families can come in and bail in, put money in their account. The county commission passed that sick call, if they request to go see the doctor or the nurse, that they're charged an amount. Certainly doesn't cover the cost of the services. But what it does is we have a lot of people that would just frivolous sick call just because they want to come out of cell. So this helps them to know that if I go to see the nurses, there's going to be some money deducted from my account. If they don't have the money, it doesn't. I mean, they still see. We don't hold back the services, but their accounts will be deducted for those amounts that were passed by our county commission. Inside our medical, this is one of our pictures inside of our medical unit, and all of the services that our medical providers provide. They do a very good job. And it's that's really a high liability for the county. The jail itself is, but providing necessary medical care, we have to do it. This is our dental office. And then this just tells some of the things that we're mandated to do, and when they come in from the street, what we have to do as far as pictures, fingerprints, collect their cash, validate their cash, give them their initial telephone call, ask them the medical questions and intake questions. This is some of our pictures. On the top left there is coming in to the jail. That'll be your first entry into the jail if you're in custody. Some of our officers that are in charge of booking, entering the pertinent information, the charges, the bond amount, the addresses, telephone numbers, dates of birth, social security numbers, and then this is our fingerprint machine that submits to the TBI. And of course, a photo. Property storage, and just some of our holding cells at releasing, and our bonding areas. Again, we'll go over all of this next week and let you get a good bird's eye view. I'm going to end right now. This is our laundry, and I hope I didn't go too fast. I hope I gave you some information on why we do things and what's expected of us to do. Enjoy being here. Thank you for your attention.
Anybody have any questions? About how many people come through a year, Sonia?
We'll average booking between 35 and 40 a day. So it's about 15,000. You can take them and 24 hours.
And about how many do you release a day?
About the same amount.
Yeah, and that's
hopefully more. I always look at that report in the morning to see if we booked in more than we released, because I like to keep the population down. But it's pretty close. Pretty close.
The jail used to it has a square foot requirements per inmate. I read it in the book.
Yes, sir.
And we went from 600 to 800, but we had no gain in square footage. How did we do that?
The standards changed. They reduced it from 35 to 25,
okay.
And we went up a band. I know I have some pictures. We had when we built that jail, there was a little error, and they put more square footage than was needed in the day room, and we were a little short in the cells. So back then, they did a retrofit. I don't know if any of y'all read about it in the paper, but they went out on the outside of that pod and they extended it out. But when the standards changed, that gave us enough square footage in every cell, well, there's a few on the sides, to house 3 inmates instead of 2. So we did the 3-man bunks and went straight up, and that kept the clear floor space that is required. That kept it to where that we could house 3, and that we did that for a little over $100,000.
Yeah.
Added 170 beds. Here's your 2-man bunks. Here's your 3-man bunks.
And the other option, I think it's important for you to know that the other option that the sheriff had was to ask for a workhouse, which would have cost in the neighborhood of, what, $5+ million.
At least. A
So
minimum.
$100,000 fix saved $5 million. So a much better plan.
Do sometimes we house prisoners from other counties for pay?
No, sir. We used to years and years ago, and we did when we first went into the new jail because I felt like I owed some folks. They had really helped me out, and because we were so overcrowded. But we do not now. We house state inmates, and these are people that are committed a crime in Sumner County. They went through the judicial system. They've been convicted of a felony, and they're serving state time, and it could even be split confinement. They might be serving a penitentiary sentence that's been reduced down to, let's say, 90 days, but it's still a felony. We get paid for those 90 days, $37 a day. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it generates around $250,000 a month. The state pays the county. It's deposited into the county general.
Well, what's your cost per inmate? Isn't it
It's
greater
a little over $42 a day.
Right, so it really doesn't
It
cover
really
it.
offsets though. I mean,
Right.
we eat that, the $42 if they're pre-trial or if they're county, if they're serving a misdemeanor sentence. But the state reimburses $37 per inmate per day if they're serving any type of a state sentence. And if they have to go into the hospital, they pick up the tab. If it's emergency, if they're admitted into the hospital for an emergency, we contracted and negotiated with the state that if it's non-emergent and it's outpatient services, the county would pay the first $1,000 per year, and after that, the state picks up the rest of those charges as well. So that maybe doesn't sound like a good deal to you. We used to not get anything on outpatient or non-emergency treatment.
You get a lot of repeat offenses.
Excuse me?
You get a lot of repeat.
Unfortunately, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
What about illegal?
Very few, to be
Very few.
honest with you. I think the very last breakdown right here, when I did this, and that was a year ago, but that was our count's not real true right now because we're sending them to other counties because of the plumbing renovation. This was a true count when I did this. This was the folks that we weren't sending them off because of the plumbing. And as you can see right here on a 593 inmate day, and today our count was 590. We had 17 Hispanics. So that's a breakdown by race. And there's our cost, $42.25.
Are your volunteers, do they go through a background check?
Yes, ma'am. They have to go through a background check, they have to sign for that, and now they have to go through 4 hours of orientation, or it's mandated training that's required, that's been changed to our GCI standards.
Of the 160 people that you supervise, how many are deputy sheriffs?
We don't have, in jail,
Uh-huh.
0.
They're all civil service grade?
They're civil service employees, but they're not certified. They are not post-certified.
Remember the first night we talked about what a post-certified officer is, and how he goes through the academy and things like that. Correctional officers have a different kind of academy. They go through a TCI academy. It's much shorter, but it gives them the basic to work inside a jail. And then we provide training and FTO within the facility.
A lot of my people promote out, don't they, Jeff?
They do.
A lot of my folks that used to be with me are now deputies, but they're out on the road, or they're in the schools, or they're at animal control, whatever the case may be.
Any other questions? Let's take a short break.